All right, we continue on with our look at the catcher position for the 2022 fantasy baseball season. We already discussed Salvatore Perez. My number 2 catcher for the upcoming season is JT Realmuto. That's always a tough one for me to say. The Philadelphia Phillies, perennial all-star, 31 years old now, and is coming off another decent season in 2021. He hit 263, 17 home runs, 73 RBIs, 64 runs, and 13 steals. So the first thing that always jumps out about Realmuto is the steals. For a catcher to steal even 5 bases is a lot, and for him to have 13 last year is quite the number. And I always equate him to, like, if you remember Derek Lee, when Lee used to play for the Chicago Cubs at first baseman, he was the rare first baseman that stole bases, and he would, typically go for 10, 15 a season, which really kind of elevated his status at the position. That's what Realmuto gives you. Which is very rare. Now, again, he's 31, flat in his prime. He plays in a great hitter's park in Philadelphia. You know what? The numbers look good. I mean, the power still is holding steady. The fact that he's still running as much as he is after passing the age of 30 is impressive. Usually the line of demarcation for stolen bases for a player is 30. Once they go past 30, the steals start to dry up. But lately we've been seeing that changing. I mean, you look at Starling Marte, for instance, still running wild as he approaches the age of 35. Not obviously, we're talking about a different level here with Realmuto, but at 31, the fact that he's still running is good for his value. The slugging percentage did dip a little bit, 439 percentage. That was his lowest since 2016. I'm just looking at my notes here. He is signed through 2025 with the Phillies, so that's good. 31 years old again. He's in his prime still, maybe towards the back end of his prime, especially for a catcher. He'll take the odd start at first when needed. Last year, 476 at bats, which is a rough estimate to what he's going to have this season. But again, we're talking about elevated price, and Realmuto always comes in at a high cost. I personally I don't think I've ever owned him in terms of right after the draft. Have I traded for him in the past? I suppose I have in some of my leagues. I can't recall off the top of my head. I really haven't owned many shares of Realmuto over the years, just because of my philosophy of not investing in a catcher unless it was Mike Piazza early in the first few rounds of a draft. And that's going to hold true for me this year as well. The 13 steals seems like a little bit of an outlier for him. He probably will jog back to maybe the 8 to 10 range this year. Home runs maybe jogs back to 15. So we're still talking about a rock-solid top-tier catcher. Along with Salvatore Perez, those two stand above everybody else. I have Will Smith third, but there's a gap between Smith and Realmuto. But Realmuto is not going to be on any of my teams to start the season. Again, I'm not going to draft him. I still think the catching position is fraught with injuries and a lot of missed time. So I'll let everybody else chase him. I'll be stocking up on, slugging corner players like third baseman and first baseman in rounds 4 to 5 and 6. Also try to, maybe get some steals in there as well. Also my first pitcher, but I'm not going to chase a catcher. But Realmuto should be safe for another year or two. This year especially, I think he'll be just fine in terms of replicating his numbers with maybe just a slight jog back overall, like I talked about. But if you feel comfortable drafting him, by all means do so. I think he's going to be just, he'll be his normal self, at least for this season.